Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Let's go. What's going on, Lock Shoppers? Let's get this party started. Grey Cup weekend is here. And the Lock Shop coming to you from the Hammer, home of the 110th Grey Cup. Andrew Patterson, Pat Gregoire with you. No Dusty today. He's, I don't know where, Dusty's probably in between Niagara and Hamilton and the TSN studios in Scarborough. Very busy man this weekend. But for those of you that want a full dose of Mr. Nielsen tomorrow, I guess Edmonton time is noon to 4, 1 to 5 in Winnipeg. He and our pal Marshall Ferguson are going to be doing it up with Grey Cup Saturday on TSN. And then, of course, he will have the call on the radio broadcast. So, well, wherever you're listening, check out the CFL rights holder, and you can catch out the big guy do his thing. We are going to get into the Grey Cup. I know a lot of Winnipeg Lock Shoppers ready to bet on blue coming up this weekend. And obviously, we've got a big slate in the National Football League, which we'll get to. But P. Greggy, what's going on? How are you? Very rarely are you this close to me, although, of course, we are still doing this digitally because it takes you probably 2.5 hours at this point to drive to where we're at.
Yeah, I just threw it on Google Maps quickly before we went on air. Traffic not too bad right now, probably about an hour 45. But if I wait any longer for that Friday rush hour, I might not even make it before kickoff on Sunday. You talk about blue, betting blue. We see a lot of the money coming in on the Bombers, but that wouldn't indicate with the way that the money's going or the line's going. Now the Bombers are only -8. So we've seen, you and I kind of had a little bit of a feeling that, once we got closer to kickoff, maybe we see it at 9, maybe we see it at 9.5. But it's going the other way. I don't think it's going to go too much more, to be quite honest. But nonetheless, pretty shocked to see that the line's moving the other way.
Me too. I'm not sure why that would be the case. But maybe there's a bunch of money coming in, a lot of interested people that are rolling with the underdog in the Montreal Alouettes. But we'll get to the Grey Cup in just a minute. Quickly, let's touch on last night's game between the Bengals and the Ravens. Bengals taking serious heat for not disclosing the Joe Burrow injury. And as someone that was on the Bengals plus 3.5, I agree. I'm not sure we're making those bets if we knew that Joe Burrow's hand or wrist was in the condition that it was. Not disclosed at all. There's going to be a heavy fine doled out for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it was weird. Earlier in that first half, it was Lamar Jackson that went down. You were wondering, is that the injury that's going to flip this game? Well, very shortly thereafter, Joe Burrow gets the team in for a touchdown, but unable to return to the game. And listen, our bets were dead. And I think I'm ready to say the Bengals season is dead. That division is just way too tough. Another loss in the division. They're at 5-5. Listen, I'm here for it. You will recall I had a Bengals prop at the beginning of the season for the team to miss the playoffs at, I think it was about plus 280. They had that tough start, but they haven't rattled off the wins that they did last year, Pat. And coming out of last night's Thursday nighter, this team is on life support, and they're all pro quarterbacks injured.
Yeah, and it looks like it's something that could be really significant for Joe Burrow. Like, they had that shot of him on the sidelines, and he didn't even throw the ball. He just made a little bit of a throwing motion, and immediately he drops down. And you and I both know we're big Joe Burrow fans, despite him terrorizing my Buffalo Bills over the past couple seasons. I still love him. I still respect him. I think he's as tough as nails. So this has to be a serious injury if this, not only prevented him from not finishing that game, but all indications say that he's going to be out for a while. But yeah, like this doesn't make sense to me because this, has been status quo for a while, and I'm talking about being transparent, having these injury reports be up to snuff, having full reports throughout the week. For him not even to be listed as like, questionable or even have any sort of
Probable. I mean, just
probable.
no mention of it was.
I mean, Tom Brady's was on probable for his entire career.
Just
Got a
to
little bit
cover
of
their ass.
exactly. But this way, like, and the social team, puts out a video, and I know it was a little bit of some serious investigation by some people on social media, zooming in and seeing things, but obviously it was known by the team. It's not like Burrow himself was hiding this, like we've seen in the past with some players being like, no, I'm fine. The fact that he had some sort of device, they're saying, on his wrist when he was walking in to the stadium, like this could be a really, really, really big problem for the Bengals, from the league, but also I would be surprised from the PA, like from that standpoint, allowing Burrow to go out there and play through that injury, knowing that this is happening. So
well, guys
we
will give
know
it a go. I mean, they're not gonna listen. I mean, that's happening probably in dozens of cases in every NFL game. I mean, at this point in the season, no one's really 100%. But in the spirit of transparency, like if you're in on legalized gambling, there is an element of information that has to be out there for people that are playing. And things obviously didn't happen last night. And listen, I mean, I was choked about what happened with our wagers. At the same time, there is a silver lining because that Bengals to miss the playoffs is looking really good, and the
yeah.
Ravens to win the division looking really, really good. Huge matchup in the AFC North between the Steelers and Browns. And speaking of
Not
quarterbacks being out,
yes.
no Deshaun Watson. And who do we got? We got DTR going.
DTR was announced as the starter, but not so fast. I don't know if you saw someone out on Twitter yesterday early morning showed a photo of Joe Flacco on a plane.
Elite
And
Joe Flacco.
elite Joe Flacco, Joe Cool. And everyone's kind of like, "Oh, haha, this is funny." Nope, turns out he has a workout with the Browns. So that is how desperate this Browns team is. It's almost like that they had this really good quarterback that is proving himself that he belongs in the league. Was there at training camp and has played on two other. Oh wait, yeah, they did have that. Josh Dobbs malpractice. The fact that they didn't go out and get a quarterback at the deadline. I'm not even saying go out and get Dobbs back, because you know what, like bringing back a guy that you cut, maybe it's a little bit of a tough look. Swallow your pride. You should do it anyways. But there have to be like.
Well, Carson Wentz signed with the Rams. I mean, listen, I'm not sitting here telling you Carson Wentz is going to make you a Super Bowl contender.
But like getting Joe Flacco off the couch, like there's got to be better options than that.
Hey, you know what? I'm a Flacco believer. I saw him have the greatest run maybe in NFL playoff history, 11 touchdowns, no picks. Saw him win the Super Bowl in New Orleans against the Niners. Does that make me more confident about where the Browns are at right now beyond this week? Probably not, but I'm here for it, especially considering the division we are talking about. I mean, this is Joe Flacco, Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Ravens, going to the Browns. It is pretty juicy. And, oh, by the way, RG3 did say that the Browns should really sign RG3. He's available to come out of the broadcast booth, off of the panel, and get into Cleveland Brown unis. But that'll be something that we'll be following. Listen, before we get to our NFL best bets, let's get to some picks for the Grey Cup. And of course, folks, if you want to get to CoolBet, don't forget CoolBet. If you haven't played there before, I know there's probably a bunch of people in Winnipeg going, I've been thinking about it. I hear you guys talk about it all the time. Now would be a great time to use the promo code LOCKSHOP or WST and get in there 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200, just in time for the Bombers to play for the big one. And Patty, I mean, right off, you mentioned it. I mean, I am quite surprised that this number has gone from 8.5 to 8. I mean, I haven't heard or seen anything other than the status of Adam Bighill, which is highly unlikely that he will play. I think we're kind of losing much hope that Dalton Schoen will play. But that was the case last week as well, although Bighill obviously did get did get injured during the game. But what's the story with the line moving? I mean, is there did you see anything? Is there a bunch of money coming in on Montreal or something like that?
You know what? I full transparency, that's what Cool Bet's all about. It's something we pride ourselves on. I haven't taken a look. I'm pulling it up right now to see if there is anything. Sometimes as well, it's to, it's not necessarily just what's going on at our book, what's going on at other books, but for the most part, it seems like, a couple other books still have it at 8.5. Some have dropped it to 8. So my guess, maybe there is some sharp money coming in on the other side. I'll have to pull that up before the show is done to figure out what's going on, because to be quite frank, that doesn't make any sense. I again, a lot of our money didn't start coming in until a little bit closer to kickoff. And I think we'll see the most action on Sunday, as you normally do. It's usually the sharper betters, or, the more hardcore betters. Doesn't necessarily mean they're sharp. They just means they play more. They'll bet there during the week. Whereas the more casuals, which the Grey Cup is as casual as it gets when it comes to CFL betting. A lot of people that, maybe haven't watched a single game all year will come in. Maybe they'll even, deposit for the first time, like you said. Or maybe it's, someone who just really doesn't bet on the CFL, but they want to bet on the big game, similar to the Super Bowl, similar to other big time events. So that was a bit shocking to me. I feel, again, especially in shout out to Winnipeg Sports Talk. You guys are one of, consistently, whether it's the Jets, whether it is the Bombers, when you look at the futures, we always have a heavy influx, especially the CFL when it comes to the Bombers. Also helps that, 4 straight Grey Cups, a perennial powerhouse.
Class of the league.
Class of the league. That also helps as well, too.
All right, well, let's look at this. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, I'm on the Bombers. I was on them at -7.5 when it came out. I still was fine with it being 8.5. I mean, looking at this, someone asked me a couple times on the show today, give me a score for this game. And I think I'll be conservative. But I'm picking Bombers 31, Montreal 13. So here are some things that I like. I like the under 19 points for the Montreal Alouettes. And I like the Bombers to cover the spread. If you want to look at the total, which is 47.5, I think I'll lean to the under on that. But I don't have as much of a strong feeling because, listen, it wouldn't surprise me if the Bombers went off. They did put up 47 points in their last meeting against this team in a game that many will recall. Zach Collaros threw 2 pick sixes, which I don't think happens again against the same team. He threw 2 pick sixes, and they still won by 30. The Montreal offense put up 3 points. Now, they wrote a wild story with that crazy upset win over the Argos last week, but let's face it, that was Argos absolutely self-destructing. MOP, Chad Kelly, we'll talk about that today on Winnipeg Sports Talk, had probably the worst game of his career, was completely lost. I know he said afterwards that he was concussed. Listen, I won't even get into that, but the bottom line was they turned the football over 9 times. Yeah. Gave up a kicking touchdown. There was 2 pick sixes. So many things had to happen for the Alouettes to win that game. And up until that point, Montreal was 11-0 against all the weak teams in the league, 0-7 against Toronto, BC, and Winnipeg, the class of the Canadian Football League this year. I'm stunned that the Argos aren't in this game, but they're not. So it's Montreal. Their offense has been mediocre or towards the bottom of the league all season long. And, oh, by the way, the Bombers just went out and sacked Vernon Adams 9 times last week. So I don't see a lot of paths to victory for the Alouettes. My nervousness about the game is in just how confident I am that the Bombers get this done. They lost the game last year. There was a few mistakes. I think they learned from those. And more than any, for Montreal to win, I think that this team is going to need to get a defensive touchdown or 2. I don't think Zach Collaros is serving it up. As long as the Bombers take care of the football, I think they win by double digits. So I love the Bombers on the spread. And I think that the defense is good enough. And I don't think the Bombers are going to be handing anything over to them So in a lot of ways, I do like the Montreal Alouettes under 19 as well. Quickly, your thoughts on the game, Patty, and then I'll get to a couple other props that are quite interesting.
Yeah, I think you laid out really perfectly. And again, I don't want to sound like a sore loser Toronto fan because I do like Jake and I were talking about it yesterday, and I said like you got to give a lot of credit to Montreal for the way that they played and how they deserve that victory, how well the defense played, how um they were very opportunistic. Like they came up with big plays when they needed it. But with that being said, like Toronto could not have played any worse on both sides of the ball, especially offensively. You mentioned it. Chad Kelly was awful. They couldn't do anything. But the Alouettes offense, you mentioned it, only 3 points. Like they really did not do much. They're going to have to do a lot more offensively if they're going to want to win this football game. They cannot hope for all that magic once again. Yeah, could they get a pick here, pick six? Could they get a kick return? For sure. But is it going to unfold the way that it did in Toronto? No, that's just not going to happen once again. So, you know, I I wish I bet the 7.5 earlier in the week. Now that it's down to 8, I think I'll probably jump on it now because I do think we get it. Like what we were saying before, I think it goes back up to 8.5, and then by kickoff, we could see it 8.5, 9, maybe 9.5. I don't know. After this movement, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I think it's going to be a great game. I really do. I do tend to agree. I think it's going to be close for a little bit, and then I think the Bombers flex their muscles and pull away here with a victory.
Yeah, one of the things that that I'm so interested in is exactly, just trying to check out the chat here, folks, for everyone that is that's jumping in with us, kind of on location. It's a little bit of a different setup that normally goes. I'm quite interested as to how the Bombers come up. We've got a great conversation with Marshall Ferguson coming up on WST on just kind of going over the different ways the Bombers can beat you. Dominating the line of scrimmage, rushing with Brady Oliveira. Oh, you want to focus on that? No problem. Zach Caleros will start ripping it around, even with the depleted receiving core. So, I mean, do they start it off? This is why I don't think I'm going to be spending too much time looking at like receiving yardage props, because if the Bombers come out and get ahead in this game, I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Brady Oliveira.
Yeah.
Brady's got a big number. I mean, listen, many
Huge.
people thought he should have been the MOP, but 90.5 against a Montreal defense that, frankly, is the strength of their team. I would say it is certainly I would say it's certainly, one of those. It's tough because it's such a big number. But I'll say this: if the Bombers get up, I think Brady gets a ton of carries. And we've seen this before. I mean, the Bombers like a boa constrictor or a python in the second half, just squeezing the life out of teams and out of the clock by giving it to number 20 over and over and over.
Well, I don't know if you saw, if you go to player head-to-head props, some awesome stuff, Fajardo versus Caleros head-to-head, who will have more passing yards, first to score a touchdown. Those ones, I think, unless you think Fajardo's going to come out and have, a big game, yeah, sure. But the one that's intriguing to me, this is a really cool one. Brady Oliveira versus William Stanback. And shout out William Stanback, great back, had a great season.
Good.
He's a good player, but there is a spread on the rushing yards. Brady Oliveira minus 39.5 against William Stanback. So for him to have 40 more rushing yards than Stanback, or you can go on the other side, plus 39.5. Both are at minus 112. I think that if you want a touch of Brady O and you want a little bit of a better price, I think you go with this spread here because let's be honest, if the game script works out like how we think, or at least how you think it is, and that they do flex their muscle, how much is the Alouettes going to be really running the ball? I think they're going to have to play catch up. Like if it goes out the way that you think it's going to have to play. So I don't think Stanback gets as many yards. So That's just a little interesting wrinkle for these big games. We like to put up creative lines, and I saw that one there, and I thought it was really, really interesting. So for him to have 40 more yards than Stanback, it's a lot to swallow. But I think if the game script runs out the way you think it does, maybe that's the way you go.
Yeah, I mean, Montreal would love to establish the run. I just don't know whether they can do it.
Yeah,
And I mean, that
exactly.
offensive line, I mean, they gave up a bunch of sacks last week as well. I mean, to Toronto. I think Cody went down 7 times, if I'm not mistaken. So that is an interesting one. So I mean, if you want, it's the Oliveira Stanback head-to-head rushing yards. There's a couple other interesting head-to-heads for the quarterbacks. Cody Fajardo versus Caleros head-to-head to have the most passing yards. Caleros is minus 182. Cody Fajardo plus 145. I mean, the one threat to Zach in that is like if they just don't really need to throw the ball very much and continue to run the football,
Yeah.
does that get a little bit closer? And then first to throw a touchdown, Fajardo versus Caleros. Caleros minus 263 and Cody plus 190. Will there be a safety in the game? Plus 325 for yes, minus 435 for no. Will there be overtime played? 10-1 for yes, minus 2,500 for no. Might just take an extra mortgage out and just, put it on no. Although I don't really like jumping on those. Okay, this is what I was hoping for. And we'll figure out how to put this one together. Total sacks in the game.
Yeah, we got that one for you.
Over 5.5 is plus 115. But to be honest, I like even more the Bomber sack prop. Over 3.5 is plus 130. I am all over this. This right now, I think I'm looking at everything available. This might be my favorite bet because I think Montreal is going to need to try to throw the football. I know they don't throw it very deep, but often, shorter mid-range throws, that does tend to get the ball out quicker, which is going to be important for Cody Fajardo. But listen, if they're going to win this game, they're going to need to bring it all. There will be some deeper passes. And I mean, we've seen it before in the regular season. We saw it in both of the finals. The Bomber defensive line is built different and, can really take over a game from the line of scrimmage. And as we've seen for Cody Fajardo's star-crossed life going up against this football team, 0-9 head-to-head career against Zach Caleros. There's plenty of times Cody's been getting up and dusting himself off. So I will ride with Willie Jefferson, Jackson, Jeffcoat, and the fellas on the over 3.5 sacks. We talked about Brady at 90.5 for the rushing yards, and Stanback is at 49.5, which is sort of interesting because the total when we're talking about the head-to-head matchup is 39 or 40, and yet the totals for the lines being put out is actually 31. I'm not sure whether there's an angle on there either going under the Stanback number of 49.5, or maybe being a bit more cautious about that 90.5 number because, I mean, Brady had the 1,500 rushing yards. He also had 500 passing yards to get to 2,000, Pat. So there are different ways they can get to their all-star running back. A couple of receiving props right here. These are receptions. Austin Mack for the Montreal Alouettes over 4.5 plus 110. Kenny Lawler over 5.5 plus 110. Nick Dembski. This is interesting. Nick Dembski's number is over 4.5 minus 147. The under is plus 120. Dembski has been banged up, has not really practiced so far this week, although he was out there. We did see him play basically the same week happened last week. Didn't play very much, was a game time decision, played, but as they controlled the football the way they did, they didn't need to go to Nick as much. That under 4.5 for Dembski actually is somewhat attractive, despite the fact that they are going to be without Dalton Schoen. And Dembski has been a guy that certainly picks up the slack. Tyler Snead for Montreal over 3.5 minus 108, and Tyson Philpott over 4.5 at minus 102. The other one's up there.
I definitely like that sack number. I'm going to be riding with you on that one for sure. But full disclosure, again, a lot of when I make my CFL wagers, I do my own, my own research, but a lot of the times, I'm listening to the Lock Shop and I'm riding with you and Dusty. You guys are two of, if not the two best that do it in this country when it comes to CFL. So I'm going to lean a lot on you. But where I think I can bring some expertise is the things that really don't matter with the game. And I'm talking about the coin toss. I'm talking about the Gatorade shower. I'm talking about these bets. We don't have the anthem yet, and we don't have the first Green Day song. When those come out, I'll make sure to, we get them out on social. I'll make sure to make my own picks. I'm going to be doing my research there. I already have started it, but I'm waiting to see the lines. The other thing is, and everyone knows, when it comes to what I'm all about with betting, field goals. We have a total field goal number here, and it's 4.5, even on both sides, minus 110. For over, minus 110 on the others. I'm going over. That's a principal play. I'm going with that. So give me that. Pregame, I'm going tails. Don't know if you've ever heard this. Tails never fails, although it did fail. It did fail last year when I was in the building, but let's not talk about it. It's 2 to hit. The other one, which I'm interested in, the winning team's head coach, first color poured on the winning team's head coach. The last time the Bombers won, I looked it up. It was orange. Do they run it back with orange? That's a thought. Blue, it is the blue Bombers. That's at plus 265. Orange is plus 215, by the way.
Let me just quickly say about the Bombers. This is a team and an organization that it's just like rinse, repeat, do the same thing overward. Like they right now, Pat, was talking to some of the guys in the organization. They've had this plan. They've had their week planned out basically from the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Been there, done that, do it again, and come back with a different result as last week. I don't know why we would lean any other way than the same thing that's happened before if they're going to win.
You read my mind.
Count me in on orange.
Yeah, I was going to go with the orange. I was just reading out some other ones. Clear, water, plus 425, red/pink, plus 650, and then purple at plus 650 as well. Yeah, orange, give me the favorite. It's chalky, whatever. I totally agree. The Bombers are, you said it, they are the standard, the way they run their organization from top to bottom. Why wouldn't they try to run it back? If it worked 2 seasons ago, they're going back to it once again. So give me orange at plus 215, and then give me tails. And of course, give me the over 4.5 field goals as well.
Yes. One other one that I didn't mention, but I think I'll probably go in on a yes at minus 115. Will there be a rouge? Hey, it's not the CFL. It's not the Grey Cup without a single point at some point. So let's throw that in there. Now, just quickly I'm just trying to think about a third prop to get in here for what could be, I guess, a WST parlay. We're going to take the Bombers to cover the spread. Here, how about this? Bombers to cover the spread. I guess we're going to need to go 7.5 or 8.5.
What do you want? Do you want? You feeling really confident, or you going to play it a little bit safe?
Well, I'll tell you what. 7? Let's just do 7.5.
Okay.
And then let's take under 19.5 Alouettes team total. And then we got plus 130 for the Bombers over 3.5 sacks. So let's throw those in. We'll kind of leave. People want to jump in on the individual player props. Great. But Bombers minus 7.5. Alouettes team total under 19.5. Bombers over 3.5 sacks. We'll throw that in for a WST parlay and get that up a little bit later.
Beautiful.
I've been joking all week long. And again, people know I'm big on this team. I'm a Winnipeg guy, but I've also watched every single game they played under this era. They are built. They've been driven by the loss last year. Zach Caleros driven by the 2 pick sixes that he committed against Montreal earlier this year. So I really do think that the Bombers win comfortably. I think the defense puts up a memorable performance, and that's why I do like the under on the Montreal number. Again, this Montreal offense scored 3 points in 2 different games, a total of 6 points all year. So we're going to jump on that, and we'll get that parlay up in the WST parlay section, and looking forward to that. Patty, we just don't have a ton of time because, hey, it is Grey Cup week. We wanted to really focus in on that, but let's get to some picks for the National Football League. And Dusty's been so busy. Normally when he's away, he'll still send me the picks. I didn't get his, so the two of us can kind of maybe put together a little lock shop partner parlay. But let's get to your favorite bets against the spread this week, and then I'll hit you with mine.
Well, again, I'm a changed man. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Steelers plus 1.5, and I think it's Steelers money line with just the mess that's going on right now with the Browns. With DTR now being announced as the quarterback, with them bringing Joe Flacco off the couch. I get it. The defense is elite. What they're going, the fact that they're still in this situation leads me to believe that, there's a lot of belief in that locker room. But man, I don't know how you go against the Steelers team. They just find ways to win. And we said it's a rule. We go with the underdog with the points in these divisional bouts. Mind you, it's plus 1.5. I don't know. I'd be even considered to buy a full point to go up to 2. It's only minus 125. If we want to do that, but I'm so confident. I think the Steelers, I think they could win this game. The other one, my favorite bet of the week isn't on a side, it's a total. I love Bears Lions over 48. I would even bet it up to 48.5. The Lions defense is a problem. And I'm not talking about like them being a problem in the good way, like the kids like to say. Like, they are flat out bad. They've allowed 38 points in 2 of their last 3 games. And I know Justin Fields is nothing considered to be a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but he is a upgrade from Tyson Badgett, a major upgrade. I could say that. And to be quite honest, the Lions have really struggled against mobile quarterbacks all season long, even last year as well. When you look at some of the numbers, on the flip side, back to the Lions, their offense is elite, man. Like, what a season Goff is having, especially against poor defenses. Chicago ranks last in pressure rate. And when Goff has a lot of time in that pocket to pick apart defenses, he really cooks. So my favorite play of the day is over 48. I would buy it either way. I would take it either way if we wanted to put that on a parlay. I know we usually go with a side, but for me, I really, really like that over. To be quite honest, but those are probably my 2 strongest plays. Take it for what it is, like the Jets, but I'm obviously an angry Bills fan. 7 points just seems way too much in a divisional bout. They've got a new offensive coordinator. How much can he really bring? There seems like there's a lot of positive vibes, in that, when you're listening to the press conferences and everything going on, like Josh Allen and Diggs hugging each other at practice, showing like, hey, everything's fine. But when that usually happens, that's like that. It feels like they are the gif of that dog sitting in the house with the coffee and everything's on fire and it says, "This is fine." That's how it feels right now for the Buffalo Bills. So again, I might be a little bit biased, but Jets plus 7.5, or even if you wanted to go down to 6.5, I think I would go up to 7.5 and be okay with that.
You know what? I think that's probably a safe play. And I mean, listen, the Bills haven't been covering against anybody for the last little while. And I don't think it's all Ken Dorsey's fault. It's about execution. And the Jets still have a really, really good defense. And I'll be honest, I do think that Zach Wilson is due to maybe get a touchdown at some point.
Yeah, right.
So listen, I do like the Jets, and I'm sort of with you on that. And obviously on the other side, we'll go to we'll take it to 7.5. Maybe I'll take Dusty. This is channeling Dusty. I have not been a big Jags guy throughout the year. I think they come back though and have a big win, knowing that next week is a massive game going to Houston. And listen, Will Levis, I think the shine came off Will a little bit in the game last week. They're going to go to Jacksonville. Their defense has been pretty good. It's kind of the offense that hasn't been clicking, and
Really
Tennessee
bad.
might be the remedy for that's going on. Now, this game is at 7 right now at minus 104. So, I mean, I'll take it 7 as far as our picks go, but maybe we'll take it to 6.5 for what would be a nice little partner parlay. The other game that I love is the Rams +1 against the Seahawks. And this is a play. I mean, listen, Stafford should be back. Cooper Kupp, thank God, as a Cooper Kupp owner, to get Stafford back in, coming off that bye and him back into the lineup. But if you look, that division is so funny. The Seahawks always give the Niners so much trouble.
Yeah.
The Niners crush the Rams, and the Rams always beat the Seahawks. I mean, it's like Sean McVay can read Pete Carroll's mind. And what happened earlier this season? The Rams are going to suck. Right off the bat, they go into Seattle and whoop them by double digits, if I recall correctly, in week 1 of the season. So, I mean, I still think Seattle is pretty good. I think they're a borderline playoff team. I'm not sure the Rams are there, but in this matchup, I'm in on the Rams, and I'm pretty much in on the Rams until the Seahawks prove me and Sean McVay wrong. And this is part of the reason why you're looking at a Rams team that is just a slight 1-point favorite. I think if you look at the records and what's happened so far this year, you'd think maybe Seattle would be a little bit more. But you can't fool me again. I've been on Seahawks against the Rams at points, and it continually reminded on that. So I do like the Rams at +1. You know what? I would love to take the Vikings. I mean, I got a soft spot. There's a ton of Viking fans. They're going up, but this is a really tough spot for them. I'm going to probably, I think, just stay away from that game when it comes to picking. It will be great. The 2 hottest teams in the NFL, biggest winning streaks, the Broncos and the Vikings. Who would have thought that on Sunday? But we're going to not pay attention to the Sunday nighter anyways, because we'll be so locked in on the Grey Cup. So I do like that. Obviously, we just talked about the Jets. You're in on Pittsburgh. I was originally going to take Cleveland in this game. Just with the way Deshaun looked last week, the fact that the Steelers really stole one from the Browns earlier this season head-to-head. I just don't know what to think. Although I don't have a lot of optimism that, the Steelers are going to go in and light up the Browns defense by any stretch of the imagination. Over 3.5 field goals. I don't see it right now if it's there. Usually we keep that bet for primetime games, but feel free to fire away on over 3.5 field goals for that one. JBM, we're just kind of finishing up and putting up a final touches on a little bit of a parlay. You got a pick or two of games that are sort of standing out for you this week?
Yeah, sorry, boys. I was on the road, and I heard you guys talking about traffic off the top of the show, and I was in it. So down to the city, out of the city, no matter what, you're going to be stuck in traffic here. Yeah, I'm with Pat on the Steelers. I think that's a nice number. Sorry, I'm just peeking at them right now as I jump on here.
What do you think about the Jets? Jets +7 at the Bills.
I'm actually going. I'm going to the game. So
nice.
I don't know. It does. That seems a little fishy, don't you guys think? Like, that's a lot of points for the Bills to be.
Have you watched the Buffalo Bills in the last 5 weeks?
We said that. Yeah,
they're not 7 points better than anybody.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think the Jets can definitely keep it inside the number, especially with the defense. But that offense is so stagnant. Like, if the Bills score, let's say 20, can the Jets score 14? I don't know. That's the only one thing I concern myself with. I know you're talking about the Vikings Broncos. I think field goals in that game, especially in Denver, I think we might need the field goal frenzy for that one.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah, some fishy lines out there. I don't know. What do you guys think on Rams Seahawks here? Were you just talking about that one, Haas?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I mean, listen, I like the Rams. I mean, this is over and over again. The Rams surprise everybody when they play Seattle, and it doesn't matter where these teams are at. It just seems like Sean McVay owns Pete Carroll in these head-to-head matchups, and we saw them as a massive underdog earlier this year going in and win outright in Seattle. Stafford's coming back. Cooper Kupp's feeling it now. He's back in the lineup. I like the Rams just to straight up win this game. Never mind taking the point.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the Rams, especially with that number, you look at it, you're like, Seahawks, they're up there near the top of that division. The Rams have been, less than average, but you look at the number and you like you talk about the Rams on the Seahawks. So I'm with you guys there. Yeah, if we want to put something together, I'm on board. There's nothing. I mean, we touch on a lot of the games here. I mean, there's nothing else that really stands out.
Huss, just quickly before you hammer that out, just to give you the vote of confidence, when I was talking about all my leans, my number one lean was Jags. For me, I was kind of afraid that this seemed like it was too obvious of a get right spot, but you've talked me into it. And I think Dusty, I mean, he's Mr. Jag himself.
Yeah,
so
he will want
I think
this
he'll be good with that.
redemption for the Jags after last week and getting some positive momentum going into a game that could very well determine the AFC South.
Yeah.
I'll probably be on the Texans next week, but heads up.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Said, all right,
I'll be there with you.
Okay, so how about this? We'll take the Jags to 6.5.
Okay.
From 7. We will. I mean, I get what's the Pittsburgh going again? It's Pittsburgh plus 1.5.
Yeah.
So Pittsburgh is a possibility, and the Rams are plus 1. So maybe we take the extra half point. Maybe we do Rams plus 1.5. Okay. Jags minus 6.5. And then what do you guys like better? The Steelers or the Jets plus 7.5?
I mean, I'm on Steelers, but Jets was also a play that I said if I was not a Bills fan, I'd be making it, making a play. I'm even considering going out of my realm and doing the emotional hedge. I'm not one to do the happiness hedge, whatever you want to call it, but I'm seriously considering doing it.
Yeah, personally, I mean, I know Pat just made a good thing for the Jets there, but I personally lean Steelers. I think. I bet against DTR in that last game, and the Ravens, they put it on them pretty good. Even with that solid Browns defense. I mean, I know it's divisional. It is a little bit of a weird line with DTR, being named to start. I know you talked about Flacco too on the start of the show. I don't imagine he'd be starting this game, even if he was going to play for the Browns. So I would lean Steelers. I mean, I guess that doesn't help. Pat was more Jets. I was more Steelers, but I think Pat had the Steelers initially, right?
I still love the Steelers are one of my best bets. So I have Steelers money line.
Plus, they've been cashing in for you all season.
Yeah, they have been. Listen, I did think that this was a Cleveland week, though. I mean, I think that these teams are they always go back and forth. I didn't think it was possible for them to sweep Cleveland, especially with the season that they're having. But their quarterback situation puts everything out the window. I'd like to know a prop. What is there more of in the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game? Defensive points or offensive points? Because I could literally see defense and special teams being as productive as anything that DTR or Pickett are bringing to the table. So let's lock this in. Pittsburgh plus 1.5, the Jags minus 6.5, and the Rams plus 1.5. We'll put those together and fire that up. Lock, shop, partner, parlay for the game, and obviously we're going to get that WS tier as well.
Yeah, quickly before you go, I know you got to run to get ready for WST. I've got Patty G's tease. We had some folks in the nasty chat asking for a teaser, so I put one together. Lions money line, Steelers plus 5.5, 49ers minus 5.5, and Vikings, which I know the Winnipeg sports talkers will like to see. Bought that up to 8.5. You can get that at plus 230. It is live in the Lock Shop Partner Parlay section. So
yeah, what's the line that give me the line on the Niners game, because that was one that I didn't have here. I didn't see that.
12.
12.
And they're who are they playing again?
The Bucks.
Oh, Tampa.
They're at home
that's
to the
right.
Bucks.
Yeah, and then Miami's a massive favorite over what's the line right now on Miami? I saw it open at 12, and I checked it out. It was
13 and a half.
Woo!
13 and a half
Too many
minus
points.
105.
Too many points. Although too many
Raiders
points.
are 5-5, guys. Like the Raiders are bad. It turns out if you get rid of bad coaches, your team actually ends up being okay. Like,
Listen,
I don't think they're making the playoffs, but
those guys get paid to play football too. Those guys get paid.
Yep, exactly. People forget
Too
that.
many
Man.
points. People forget.
All right, so Patty's G's T's will be up in the exclusives as well. We've got the Lock Shop Partner Parlay. We'll get the guys to get a number and throw that up. And again, the Winnipeg Sports Talk Parlay for the Grey Cup is going to be Bombers minus 7.5, Montreal under 19.5, and Bombers over 3.5 sacks. And don't forget, it's only minus 115 for will there be a Rouge in the Grey Cup. There'll be some Green Day props coming up. There'll be a few more. So Bomber fans especially, and everyone that's really going to be locked into the Grey Cup on Sunday, get back to CoolBet, check the exclusives, as well as the big Grey Cup section, which will be growing over the course of the weekend. And fellas, good luck. Have an awesome weekend. And I'll look forward to talking to you all on Tuesday. Really appreciate you guys holding it down for us on a Monday, kind of go through all the big games. And then, of course, get ready for the main event of the NFL weekend and maybe season. Chiefs, Eagles, Monday Night Football. That's
gonna be great.
Chiefs minus 2.5 right now. Guys, thanks again. Have a great weekend. ES Tiers, WS Tiers, appreciate you jumping on with us. Have an awesome weekend. We'll turn it back to Matty Awanek, who will continue EST programming. And coming up in about 10 minutes, live from the Hammer, we will drop another special Grey Cup edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Jump on over to the WST channel, give us a sub, and check it out if you haven't already. Fellas, good stuff. Thanks for doing this. Let's talk to you next week.
See ya, Husk. Get me over 4.5 field goals, buddy. Gonna need you to cheer hard for field goals, okay?
Hey, the field goals, as long as we're just padding the stats and
yes,
getting it all done, it should be a real one. All right, we'll turn it back to Maddie, and we're out of here. Enjoy the Grey Cup, enjoy the NFL on the weekend, and for those of you that are joining us on Winnipeg Sports Talk, we'll see you in 10 live from the Grey Cup in Hamilton.
And that's the boys right there with the Lock Shop. As I said, Matt Awanek with you here as I'll take you up until noon when I'll be back on the air with Tom Gazzola, who I see him moving. He's up from his nap. Tommy getting a little bit of a nap in before the oil stream there. Did you have a good nap, Tommy? Yeah, he had a good nap. So he'll be ready to go as we'll get you set for the Oilers beginning a pivotal 4-game road trip starting in Tampa. Tomorrow, we will have an Oil Stream pregame show for you coming up tomorrow at 12:30 with Tommy getting set for that game. I believe Sean Bell will be by for that one as well. But yeah, we'll preview that as coming up at noon right here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Those listening on TuneIn as well as our YouTube channel. This is also the Fantasy Football 5 for Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, which you now only have 2 more opportunities left to qualify for that big trip that's going to be awarded on Monday. So you could go on Sunday night. You can watch the Grey Cup there. You can watch the Sunday Nighter. And you could also have a chance to qualify, the second last chance to qualify for this trip. And then Monday, I'm going to go join Eric, but Eric's there. That's the person you want to go hang out with. He'll be there on Monday night for the Monday Nighter with the last chance to qualify, and then we'll be giving away a trip right at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. I just made my own fantasy move as I've and finally activated Justin Fields to my starting quarterback spot off my IR as he will be back this week, and I'm pretty pumped by that to see if my team could get going. Even though Struddy and Jay Milne on the hangover ripping my team, thinking that I don't know what all I said. They asked me how my team was doing, and off the top, I didn't know exactly my record, whether it was 6-4 or 7-3 type thing. I am 6-4, but my team is pretty good, and I just want to point out that I have the second best scoring team in my league, which is 16 teams. That's a pretty good accomplishment in my mind. And they said that that's not good enough, and no one asked for that, and who cares? So I think if you have a high scoring team, you have a pretty good team there. I've just had a little bit of unluckiness throughout my season, most notably early in the season when the Jets returned a punt return for a touchdown. What hurt was I had I think it was going up against, that was going up against the Bills. And what happened was I had the Bills defense, and that dropped the points down. And the Bills dropped that point that I needed to hold on to a win, ended up dropping the points to lose that game. So I've lost a couple crushing games this year in fantasy. By the way, with the law, I don't know if the boys, I was saying goodbye to Struddy and Milne, so I didn't catch the entire lock shop today. I don't know if the boys got into the Edmonton Sports Talk parlay we threw up today. I was in charge of the EST parlay with Dusty not being here, and when the boss is away, we came to play. We had a lot of fun with this one. Some people calling us greedy. And I'm okay with that because it's a Friday, it's a busy sports weekend, and we want to have everything covered, and we think we do. It's a nice, juicy line. This isn't something that you're going to go throw $50 or anything like that, but a little sprinkle, I think they call it. I think a little sprinkle, that's what you want, because it's plus 975. Here's what it is. It's a 5-parter with 4 different sports being impacted in this. We got Canada taking on Jamaica in CONCACAF Nations League action tonight out in Jamaica. We've got Canada drawing or winning this match. It's a double chance one. As long as they don't lose, we get the first check mark. We got Oilers Lightning tomorrow over 5.5 goals. We get that, check mark. 6 goals total in that game. When it comes to Oilers, if they have a poor game, there's a really good chance they're going to give up 5 goals, and all the Oilers need to do is score 1. Or the Oilers are going to come out and keep rolling after that last 4 minutes of their game prior to overtime against the Kraken on Wednesday. Then they're going to put up some goals past Vasilevsky, and Lightning will have a couple of goals, and boom, we're going to hit the 6. Then Las Vegas Grand Prix, Max Verstappen basically doesn't lose this season in F1. We got him winning the Grand Prix. And then when it comes to the Grey Cup, I know this part people don't like. I'm probably going to get booed in the nasty chat or in our inbox. 780-218-9999. Who's booing that? Was that Eric booing? You helped make this pick. Yeah, the booing stops now. Under 47.5 points for this Grey Cup. Yeah, now you're cheering. It's one of those where it's hard to see the Als actually going to be able to score a lot of points in this one. If they are going to win, it's going to take the defense having to do that, cause turnovers, but it's probably going to be a low-scoring game in that sense. Or if the Bombers come out and blow them out, like there's a chance I could see this being like a 35-3 football game or something like that. 47.5, that would come in and under. So I'm actually really liking the under in that one, even though who wants to cheer for less points? That's kind of where I see this Grey Cup going. And then finally, this is the Tommy special. Tommy really loves this pick. Tommy wanted this pick the entire time, so we threw it in there, and that was getting the Rouge in the game. We get a Rouge scored in the Grey Cup game. There's checkbox number 5. There's the Tommy special. But that's the Edmonton Sports Talk parlay, plus 975. You're only getting that on CoolBet. Head to coolbet.com. You click on exclusives. It says Edmonton Sports Talk parlay. You could bet it right there. Also up already is the Lock Shop parlay that the boys have created, which had Patty G's tees, Lions money line, Pittsburgh Steelers plus 5.5, 49ers minus 5.5, and the Vikings plus 8.5. That's at plus 30. So that's only at CoolBet. It's the only place you can get that. I should quickly open up the nasty chat to see if there's anything coming up there before we come close to wrapping this up and getting set for the oil stream. Hopefully the oil stream hits the air today. Actually, we didn't really go into it, I don't think, on the morning show today. Anyone that was expecting 2 guys and a goalie yesterday, I literally was wrapping up by saying, hey, 2 guys and a goalie coming up next on YouTube. We'll transition you over. On those listening on the auto stream on Tune, and just stay tuned, and all of a sudden you'll Whale and the Wolf. After Whale and the Wolf, you're going to hear 2 guys and a goalie. Well, as soon as we were ending that, our internet just went out in our entire office. Lost it. We had to get Shaw/Rogers to come. We needed a brand new modem. So hopefully, fingers crossed today, knocking on wood, everything is fine, and we get to the oil stream today, and that new modem that we've got does its job, and we will be able to give you oil stream, and our internet's going to work. You know, that's the joys of everything here. Pat's Maroons bib. Hawkinson will once again cash on receptions, yardage for Mini. Vetchkin the Great saying, love the Rams pick by Huss. They're another team that will make the playoffs. And Greg saying, who's on the oil stream? Well, it's me and That's not important for you. You don't care about me with that. It's our Oiler guy. It's Tom Gazzola. Tom Gazzola will be here. He'll have you covered with everything you need to know about the Edmonton Oilers as they get set for the Tampa Bay Lightning. That'll wrap up the Fantasy Football 5 / The Lock Shop. Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. Up next, it will be the Oilers stream. Myself, Tom Gazzola. Like I said, we'll get you set for the Oilers' 4-game road trip as the Oilers also tomorrow will look to win their 4th straight game. That's right here coming up on Edmonton Sports Talk. Like we said yesterday, but this time we're gonna live up to the promise. We're actually gonna get this done. If you're on YouTube, we'll transition you right over to the Oil Stream. So just have to make sure autoplay is on. And for those listening on the audio stream, just stay tuned. The Oil Stream coming up in mere minutes. Thanks for tuning into the Lock Shop. Talk to you in a moment.